Oh, Cat was first. David slacking. Brother slacking. How embarrassing. Got beat by a girl. Strong, independent woman, in fact. Ted Max resigns lead pastor role at Parkview Christian Church after 20 months. We're reading the Apocryphon of John, just to be super clear. But I'm curious. 20 months after hiring Ted Max as lead pastor, he and the multi-campus Parkview Christian Church in Illinois have mutually decided to take a step back from that decision, baby. Wonder what happened there. He urged congregants to continue giving, serving, and attending church services and refrain from speculating why the partnership didn't work. Because of money, sweet girl. Because of money. That is why. David, good evening, fam. Can't think of a better thing to do on a Saturday night than spending it with all of you. You are all intelligent, kind, and sharing people. I love each one of you. Hog Agent David. In before the demiurge. Hey, Esmel. Discord's open. Now. Tampa, hello. There's your invite. So while we wait for straggling, I have a fun kind of story. I got a call about a possum that went through a doggy door and then jumped down a floor vent. And it was a catastrophe. And so I spent the past 2 nights. First night was until like 10 o'clock or so-ish. And no luck. And then last night, again, no luck. Used like a snake camera through the vent system and all this stuff. And then was able to get the guy overnight. And he went to a lovely, wonderful rehabilitation center. So it's been an eventful couple of days out here. And late nights around these parts. But interesting. Learning new things all the time. Let me see. I think we left off here at a crisis that became the world. I believe so. Man, the ants are already out. It's driving me insane already. Shalom, honeymoon. He would have went in my stew. He was a nice little fella. He's just a scared little fella doing little fella stuff. Going through doggy doors, jumping down vents. Normal possum stuff. Possums are the one animal that like just have a real knack for ending up somewhere they're not supposed to be. The videos and pictures I see from people who do similar things as us, it's just incredible. It's wild to see where these guys end up. Some of it is hard to believe until you see the video evidence. You're like, man, how do you even get there? Possum hole. Possums and rat snakes. Yeah, rat snakes too. That's totally true. I learned that from you. Yeah. They are derpy, weird animals that just, whatever God did with them was for the amusement of people. I don't know. But they are silly creatures that do silly stuff. A crisis that became the world. It happened that the realm, or the aeon, wisdom, Sophia, which we talked about a lot of this during the Gnostic era of our little meeting here, of conceptual thought, began to think for herself. She used the thinking and the foreknowledge of the invisible spirit. She intended to reveal an image from herself, to do so without the consent of the spirit, who did not approve, without the thoughtful assistance of her masculine counterpart, who did not approve. Without the invisible spirit's consent, without the knowledge of her partner, she brought it into being. Because she had unconquerable power, her thought was not unproductive. Something imperfect came out of her, different in appearance from her. because she had created it without her masculine counterpart. She gave rise to a misshapen being, unlike herself. Sophia saw what her desire produced. It changed into the form of a dragon with a lion's head and eyes flashing lightning bolts. She cast him far from her, outside the realm of the immortal beings, so that they could not see him. She had created him in ignorance. The author is inserting there. Sophia surrounded him with a brilliant cloud, put a throne in the center part of the cloud so that no one would see it, except for the Holy Spirit, called the Mother of the Living. She named him Yadaba'ot, which we talked about during the Gnostic stuff. Yadaba'ot is the chief ruler. He took great power from his mother, left her, and moved away from his birthplace. He assumed command, created realms for himself with a brilliant flame that continues to exist even now. The fashioning of this world. Yadaba'ot, united with the thoughtlessness within him, he begot ruling authorities, modeling them on the incorruptible realms above. The first is Aethoth. The second is Harmas, or called the Eye of the Flame. The third is God Help Me, Khalil Aumbri, something like that. The fourth is Yabel. The fifth is Adonai, called Sabaoth. The sixth is Cain, called the Sun. The seventh is Abel. The eighth is Abrisen. The ninth is Yobel. The 10th is Armupiel. The 11th is For the Love of God. Malkir Adonin. It's the best I got. The 12th is Belias, who rules over the very depths, or the depth, of Hades. He made the first 7 rulers to reign in the 7 spheres of heaven. He made the next 5 rulers to reign in the 5 depths of the abyss. He shared a portion of his fire with them, but shared none of the power of light he had received from his mother. He is ignorant darkness. When the light mingled into the darkness shone. When darkness mixed with the light diminished. No longer light nor darkness, but dim. This dim ruler has 3 names. Yadaba'ot is the first. Saklas is the second. Or Samael is the third. He is blasphemous through his thoughtlessness. He said, I am God, and there is no God but me. Sounds familiar, right? Since he didn't know where his own power originated. Hey, Ghost. His rulers created 7 authorities for themselves. Each of these authorities created 6 demons apiece. There came to be 365 demons altogether. Here are the 7 authorities' names and physical forms. First, Aethoth, with a sheep's face. Second, Eloius, with a donkey's face. Third, Astaphaeos, something like that, with a hyena's face. Fourth, Yao, with the face of a 7-headed snake. Sounds like Wonderland for cat. The 5th is Sabaoth, which has the face of a dragon. 6th is Adonin, whose face is that of a monkey. 7th, Sabatios, with the face of flame and fire. Interesting. So wait, they're all... That's kind of interesting. So all but the 7th have the face of an animal, or I suppose a mythological animal. But the 7th has the face of flame and fire. These are the 7 snoots, 2 boop, and 1 noodle. These are the 7 of the week. These authorities rule the world. Yadaba'ot has many faces, more than all that have been listed, so he can convey any face he wants to the seraphim around him. Yadaba'ot shared his fire with his seraphim, but gave them none of his pure light, although he ruled them by virtue of power and glory. Of the light had received from his mother. Therefore he called himself God and defiled his place of origin. He united his thoughts sevenfold powers. Bro, sometimes it just gets me, the grammar. But it is what it says. He united his thoughts sevenfold powers with the authorities who accompanied him. He spoke and it happened. He named those sevenfold powers, starting with the highest one. Goodness, paired with the first. Athoth. Providence, paired with the second. Eloius. Divinity, paired with the third. Astapheos. I feel like I'm pronouncing them different every time. Lordship, paired with the fourth. Yao. Kingdom, paired with the fifth. Sabaoth. Zeal, paired with the sixth. Adonin. Understanding, paired with the seventh. Sabatios. Something like that. That sounds kind of Italian, though, I think. Personified days of the week. It's kind of what I was thinking. I'm not convinced, though. I'm not sure. But I think it's something you at least got to consider, yeah. Ruth, hey there. Each has its own realm modeled on one of the higher realms, and each new name refers to a glory in the heavens, so that Yaldabaoth's demons might be destroyed. The demons' own names given by Yaldabaoth are mighty names, but the powers' names reflecting the glory above will bring out the demons' destruction and remove their power. That is why each has... Yes.
You think these demons are like Hebrew demons or like Greek demons?
You know, I honestly kind of think it's like a mesh of them. There seem to be like, I don't know. To be a white girl, no offense to white girls here, that's like the vibe that I get whenever I read a lot of this stuff. Because some of it seems Hebrewish, but some of it certainly seems kind of Greekish too. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not sure. I wonder because if they're using the word demon, like I want to know what they mean by that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fair question. Esmil, what is your opinion? Because I know you're pretty in the loop on all these texts. Are they more Hebrew or Greek, the demons here? I'm sure you probably have the best clue of all of us. If I had to guess. Yao, god of hairband yelling? What? Oh, dude, I'm so slow. I swear to God. I get it now. That's really funny. That's really funny. I didn't have to have somebody explain that to me. I feel very proud of myself.
So where does this text come from, Joe? Is this Nag Hammadi?
No, I want to say no, but good question.
Because
So
that
let's
would
see.
probably get into the head of the author and their background.
I don't think it was, but I'm pulling it up now. It was Nag Hammadi. So it was a Coptic version that was found in 3 different manuscripts within the Nag Hammadi. An additional slightly earlier Greek fragment had already been discovered in 1896. Okay, so maybe that's what I was thinking of. And that was a separate manuscript known as the Berlin Codex. Yeah. So in the Berlin Codex, you had this fragmented Greek manuscript, and that was in the 1800s. And then they discovered, I believe it was a number of copies in Coptic. Yeah, a number of
Then
them
it's
in Coptic.
probably more Greek, at least as far as influence. So wouldn't that mean destroying all the Baal's demons would be like destroying his tools or identities that he uses to do whatever he does?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah. I still yeah, I think predominantly Greek, but there's I think they're pulling from the Hebrew at the very least.
It is hard.
In essence, I think. As Mill said, it seems like the Greeks imitating Hebrew or Aramaic. Maybe some Egyptian in Alexandria, Egypt. Yeah, I think it's just a lot of the Gnostic stuff, man, has like, it's harder than exegeting like the Old Testament and even the New Testament. But because the Gnostics seemed to be like a period where they were really trying to figure things out. And it seemed like they were trying to pull all of this information and make sense of it. And they were relatively open-minded, seemingly open-minded, because it's kind of a mashup. Like there's a lot of different stuff. It's not strict. Hebrew Bible is super strict, and even like the Greek New Testament, the one that we have, because it was tore apart, became very strict, and all this stuff on the fray didn't make it in for a reason. And I think a part of it is because it's like broad. There's a lot of feels from different cultures. I think it's interesting that he even said the Egyptian, because I could see that too. That makes a lot of sense to me too, with some of this stuff.
So what you're saying is the Hebrew is iOS and the Gnostics are Android?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
As a
Maybe Esmil had something to say.
Is he here?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
yeah. Go ahead, man.
If you wanted to, Esmil. If not, that's cool.
Oh yeah, I've been talking. I had the mute on.
Oh
Oh
crap.
no.
Okay, so yeah, I was gonna say that like Alexandria, Egypt, it was like New York or San Francisco in the early 1900s.
Yeah.
You know, where you had just like all of these different cultures all around, all at the same time, and influencing each other. So, and I don't know, probably the strongest one was the Greek, because I mean they were the ones in power. So, and the Romans, so they had what was it? The Romans were trying to like institute a kind of Greekification of everything. So they were trying to like invent Egyptian gods like Serapis and Serapis and things like that. And so yeah, you started having these sort of like pseudo Hebrew, pseudo Egyptian kind of creations of old Egyptian and old Hebrew stories, like old biblical and old Egyptian stories that were being like recreated in kind of this Greco-Roman mythology. Yeah, like you're reading in the Apocryphon of John. Yeah.
And it's pretty broad, I would say, with a lot of these texts from this time period. They all seem to have it, and I think that's kind of the key. What you were just saying, it's we talked about it a bit with like Marcion, because it was similar, but this was 1,000 times more concentrated, of different cultures and religions all blending and meshing together. This was, if I remember right, and Esmil can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was around the same chunk of time when divinity stories and stories of gods and all of these things really hit the boom in the Greco-Roman world, and then kind of started everything else. Like exponentially. It obviously existed, but hit an exponential status around that time, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, you started having like a lot of like the Hermeticism was starting around this time too.
Right.
You had it was about 150, and the Gnosticism. It was like 150 to about 190 AD or CE, and you just had everything taking off. Then you had Gnosticism, Hermeticism, this yeah, I don't know, probably other kind of things too. So yeah, it was an interesting time. And well, oh, I was gonna say, yeah, like in Hermeticism, poimandrous, nobody can figure out what poimandrous means. And in Gnosticism, no one can figure out what Yaldabaoth means. They can't figure out what, they've come up with like various theories, but no one can actually get one that people can agree on makes sense. So kind of weird.
Doesn't Pymander or Poimandrous mean like wellspring of knowledge or something like that?
There's been about 10 scholarly theories on what it means.
Yeah, you're right. It's not
Some
definitive.
people think some people think it means something about the shepherd. Some people think it means something about uh king, like that it's from some kind of Egyptian king. Some people think it's Greek. Some people think it's Egyptian. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard 1,000 theories. One of the ones that I always found kind of interesting is people just comparing the way it sounds to Sabaoth, which is like a very simple theory, but they're all over the place. Depending on, like, especially with something like this, because there's such low volume of information and scholarly work on all of this stuff in comparison, and so the spectrum of what does it mean is wildly broad, not helpful if you're trying to
The
feel confident.
aggregation is lacking.
Hard.
That's like the most sort of straightforward sounding one. I don't know, a lot of people disagree with it for some reason. I guess they just don't like that there's two letters different. But yeah, if you
Right.
have like Yao, like Yao is in Yahweh, and then Sabaoth, which means like what is it? Something like army or um large, like,
Lord of
battalion or something.
Hosts.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. So yeah, basically that's what it means. It means like Yah Sabaoth means Lord of Hosts or Lord of Armies or something like that.
Yeah.
And but there's a couple of letters wrong in the middle, so people don't really. They're not buying what they're selling, what the other people are selling. So
Right. Right.
it's still ongoing.
I think it's a decent theory, honestly. It's like it with that one, it just makes me think of, like, what is the easiest answer that would make sense? And to me, that's kind of it. But I mean, I've heard other theories and they're decent, but with nothing to, like, reference, it's just a bunch of dudes with glasses guessing, and it is what it is.
And I can kind of see a sigma becoming a delta by accident or something like
For
that.
sure. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely possible. Ghost said something good here. What we call psychological phenomena, they called gods, which is absolutely true. For example, if we were like them, we'd call the Dunning-Kruger effect a two-faced god. Yeah, it's even worse than that, because like we were kind of just saying, is that during the Greco-Roman boom, it's like everything became a god. But before that, even too, like across cultures, we turn just like perception in general kind of into God, seemingly. And then from culture to culture, it was definitely drastically different depending on who you're talking about. But like, I believe it started as just trying to understand things. And then it just kind of perpetuated from there and turned into more things. The volume got higher, the attribution to other things and experiences and perceptions got it just got more frequent. It got applied to more things. And then in the Greco-Roman world, I think the reason it's so blatant is because that's when the boom was. And that's like, as far as historical documents and whatnot, evidence, archives, that's like the majority of it. It goes back that far. That's like the majority of what we have. And it's just riddled with this people trying to perceive God as something. It's like psychological stuff, and then just perception. It was really interesting. It's a very interesting thing to look through, but that's a great point. That's very true. Beautiful.
Anyways, yeah, I guess we'll not get to the bottom of what these demons are. It's fine.
Okay. It's gonna drive you crazy though.
Yeah, it will.
It's like with anything else though, like keep reading this stuff, and then we'll keep reading more of it and more of it and more of it. And I bet especially you will probably come up with a theory. I have theories. I just like, what does it count for? We just don't have enough. But I feel like that with a lot of stuff. You're much better than me at not throwing in the towel and like really developing a theory around something. So I think you probably by the end of the day will. Not today, but like end of the long day of reading.
Definitely not today.
Definitely not today, but eventually. And when you do, you got to tell us.
All right.
Yaldaba modeled his creation on the pattern of the original realms above him, so that it might be just like the indestructible realms. Not that he had ever seen the indestructible ones. Rather, the power in him, deriving from his mother, made him aware of the pattern of the cosmos above. When he gazed upon his creation surrounding him, he said to his host of demons, the ones who had come forth out of him, I am a jealous God, and there is no God but me. But by doing this, he admitted to his demons that there is indeed another God. For if there were no other God, whom would he possibly be jealous of? His mother began to move back and forth, because she had become aware that she now lacked light, for her brightness had dimmed. Since her consort had not approved of her actions, she grew darker. There's blue text here, which is inserted text. Actually, I want to know for sure, because he had this color coded. So we got dark blue right here. Let's do it the right way. For material, I believe to have been added by a Christian editor who sought to present the text as a long dialogue between Jesus and John, son of Zebedee, is font color 2. Okay, so he believes this was added later. Got it. And that text says, I said, Master, what does it mean? She moved back and forth. He laughed, saying, it's not as Moses said, upon the waters, not at all. It does very much seem like an addition to me. When she saw the evil that had taken place and the theft of her light, and the theft of light that her son had committed, she repented. In the darkness of ignorance, she began to forget. She began to be ashamed, but she could not yet return above. Yet she began to move, and so she moved back and forth. The arrogant one removed power from his mother, for he was ignorant. He thought no one existed except for his mother. He saw the host of demons he had created, and he elevated himself above them. But when the mother realized that miscarriage was so imperfect, she came to realize that her consort had not approved. She repented and wept furiously. All of the divine realms, the pleroma, heard her repentant prayer. They sought blessing for her from the invisible virgin spirit. The spirit consented. He poured the Holy Spirit over her, brought forth from the whole full realm. Her consort did not come down to her on its own, but he came through the whole full realm to restore her to her original condition. She was elevated above her son, but she was not restored to her own original realm. She would remain in the ninth sphere until she was fully restored. Humanity begins. Then came a voice from the highest realms saying, the man exists, and the son of man. Yaldabaoth, chief ruler, heard it. He thought it came from his mother. He did not know the true source of the voice. The Holy Mother, Father, perfect providence, image of the invisible, Father of everything, and whom everything has come to be. Ghost said, could jealous God be like when a patent holder has their IP stolen and cheapened, thereby damaging their name and reputation? That's tough. Maybe.
Because we see the counterfeiting spirit all throughout Scripture. There's like an undertone of trying to be like God, copying God. So like I could see that as being at least related in some way. I don't know if it's perfect one to one, but
No, but that's a decent like way to try to picture that.
because when you're jealous, it's not an admission that there's like some other out there that's on equal footing with you. It's that you're not giving credit in some way.
Right. Yeah, that's
where
fair.
credit is due.
That's fair. Yeah. It doesn't solely mean that.
That's the way I think of it. I don't know if it's true, but
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Esmo, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, that was an interesting theory I ran across recently about how, like, the tree of life in the Garden of Eden was like Asherah, God's wife, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil was Yahweh, and that when Adam and Eve ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they were trying to take from God. They were trying to gain equality with God, and that was their sin that got them kicked out.
That's interesting. I mean, there's some parallel there with like some of the general Gnostic beliefs too, and their stories. Yeah, that's interesting. That's something to chew on. I'm gonna think about that a little bit. I mean, in a sense, I guess even from a normal Christian perspective, that's kind of true. It's just more specific in a sense. But that's really interesting. Huh.
Yeah, gods as trees. That's a little interesting.
Right. Right. That's a good one.
Interesting as in weird, yeah.
Yeah, weird is interesting. Huh. Yeah, both of those are good. Those are both things I want to think about. The jealous God thing is tough. But I think it's totally fair to think about that like alternative perspective that Ghost was saying, because it doesn't just mean the one thing. It could certainly mean the other. That's something to think about too. And I guess
they talk about how all emotions have a righteous and an unrighteous aspect to them. So you can have righteous jealousy and you can have unrighteous jealousy.
Right. And that's fair too. The question I think is though is it an admission that there is another God? Or is it not? And I think this is
other
one.
gods are just like structural ideas, then of course there are other gods.
Right. It reminds me of the Christian thing where we pretend like there were no other gods, even though the Bible says there were other gods. We just like the human Christian mind is not capable of understanding. Like the Bible admits there were other gods. It's just not the same thing, to put it very simply. I think it's kind of
because they've been taught wrong about what God means.
Right.
That's really all it is.
Right. Agreed. I don't see this as too terribly different, but the jealous God thing absolutely comes up in other Gnostic texts. So I think this is one you will be able to aggregate some data on over time.
Yeah, I think in this theology and in this Apocryphon of John, yeah, you definitely have like many God type beings.
Yeah. And then outside of it too. And just very specifically, that context and the term it goes around a bit. So you'll be able to collect some data on that one for sure and theory it out. So keep that in mind. The first man. What is God? Ghost, says Ruth. If you want to verbalize that, you can. If you want to type it, that's cool too. Before I get rolling.
I think God is just a pattern that is the bedrock of all other patterns. But maybe we'll cover this on Monday because it kind of relates.
Ooh, done. Fair.
Yeah.
It's the foundational pattern. That's kind of the way I look at it sometimes. The first man. This is the one who appeared to them. He appeared in the form of a human being. All of the realm of the chief ruler quaked. The foundations of the abyss moved. He illuminated the waters above the world of matter. His image shone in those waters. All the demons and the first ruler together gazed up toward the underside of the newly shining waters. Through that light, they saw the image, capitalized, in the waters. Yaldabaoth said to his subordinate demons, "Let's create a man according to the image of God, and our own likeness, so that his image will illuminate us. Each one through another's power, created aspects of the man. Each added a characteristic corresponding to the psychic factors they had seen in the image above them. They made a creature of substance in the likeness of that perfect first man, and they said, let us call him Adam, so that his name will give us the power of light. And now we have the construction of the human body. The seven powers began to work. Goodness made a psyche of bone. Providence made a psyche of sinew. Divinity made a psyche of flesh. Lordship made a psyche of marrow. Kingdom made a psyche of blood. Zeal, a psyche of skin. Understanding, psyche of hair. The host of demons took these substances from the powers to create the limbs and the body itself. They put the parts together and coordinated them. And I want to see what our little answer key says about green text. So another font color 3, distinguishes a long list of demons' names that are associated with specific body parts. A magical text apparently taken from an unknown source called the Book of Zoroaster. Okay. I'm interested to see that, so I'm going to look that up later. I'd like to cross that one. The first ones began by making the head. Abram created his head for the love of God. That name, Menegistrueth. Menegistrueth. That's so freaking long. Created the brain. However the hell you say that. Created the brain. Asterekemi? I don't know, y'all. The right eye. Bro, I can't do any of this. We're getting first letters of names on these because these are ridiculous. M created the brain. A created the right eye. T, the left eye. I, the right ear. Besaum, the left ear. A, the nose. B, the lips. Amen. The front teeth. I, the molars. Okay, I'm not going to read all this. What I'll do is I will throw all of this in off topic right now super fast. So if you want to look at it, feel free. But this is my worst nightmare in terms of names and pronunciation. And it reminds me very much of a genealogy. So
this is kind of interesting, in concept, because Neoplatonism and Hermeticism, like later, around the time of, what was that guy's name? Iamblichus. They started having this idea of all these like daemons that were in control of each part of your body. It started out that you had a personal daemon that you were like interacting with. That was like Socrates and that. But then by like Iamblichus, they started having this idea that each of your body parts had a daemon associated with it. And it almost sounds like that idea actually came up like a couple hundred years earlier in this Gnostic stuff.
That's very much what it seems like. That's really interesting. Is that... Looks like... Okay, maybe not. I'm trying to find who you're talking about.
Iamblichus?
Yeah, do you know how to spell it?
I-A-M-E...
I gotcha. Here you go. So he was a Neoplatonist philosopher from Syria, blended Platonic philosophy with mystical religion. Wrote about the divinity hierarchy, emanations, and ritual purification. Big in the revival of pagan mysticism around the 3rd and 4th century. Interesting. That is a character I do not know, but that's exactly what that seems like. That sounds spot on. That's really interesting too. Okay. That's another thing I've got to look at. Yeah, it goes through everything. The left kidney, the left thigh, the genitals, even the testes. Like, we're getting specific, y'all. And then another word I'm not going to say, but I'll highlight it for you for 2 seconds in case you care. The ribs, the marrow, the stomach, the spine. They cover it all, baby. That's wild. Ancient anatomy and physiology. Yeah. That's interesting, though. I didn't know that. I gotta look into this Syrian philosopher, because that is certainly what that seems like. And those who were appointed over all of these are Zathoth, Armus, Kalila, Ibel, Sabaoth, Cain, and Abel. The energizing powers in the limbs were divided among the head made by D, the neck made by Y, and then it continues on with these as well. So I will give you all of these also, in case you want to see in real time here. There you are. So then we're listing out more. So the right breast, the left breast, the left shoulder joint, the right thigh, just goes through like that again. 7 govern the whole body. Michael, Oriel, Asmendinus, Cephasitoel. I'm not going to try. I'll give you these two. I'm sorry. I wish I was better for y'all. I really do. The one who governs perception is A. The one who governs reception is D. The one who governs imagination, O. The one who governs integration, A. The one who governs impulse, R. I'll drop them there if you want them. There is a fourfold source of the bodily demons: hot, cold, dry, and wet. Matter is the mother of them all. Ruler of hot is P. Ruler of cold is O. Ruler of dry is E. Ruler of wet is A. And then I'll give you all of these as well. Their mother stands among them.
And
go ahead. Say again.
I don't think this is going to end.
I don't think it is either. I think it's this entire section. But we do change colors here shortly, so we're almost through it. I just don't want to deprive anybody who actually wants to look at some of this stuff. So apologies for everybody else. But
what's the name of that mother, real quick? You don't have to pronounce it, but I just want to see it one more time.
Matter is the mother of all. I don't. Did it name her?
Or on anorthopraxy. Go down a little bit. The long O word. There you go.
I don't see what you're seeing, so I hope you can see it.
No, well, there's a lag. It's all right. No worries.
What were the first couple letters?
It just where it starts talking about the mother. Go down a little.
Oh, here, I think you're talking about. I put it in YouTube.
Yes.
Okay.
The unorth thing. I'm wondering why it wouldn't be Barbello unless this is a smaller soul that governs these 4 concepts.
Yeah, I have no idea. No clue.
Yeah, I think this is another mother. Barbello is like just below the invisible. What is that called? The one.
Ein Sof, transcendent God.
Yeah, the invisible spirit. Yeah, Barbello is like right below the invisible spirit. So.
All right, let's see.
That's like second in rank of like everything. Yeah. And then the light, what is that called? The something light is what kind of what Jesus was. And so he's like the third one down. So there's like the invisible light and then or invisible spirit, and then there's Barbello, and then there's Jesus, and he has some name. Couple names. I can't.
It wouldn't be logos or just like
not in this. In this, he's
okay. From this perspective of like the Gnostics, I'm not sure actually.
Different descriptions, yeah.
One has light in it, and another one is some kind of weird Greek word, like apagoria or something like that. But yeah. I just can't remember all these weird names.
The light one has been in this text, isn't it? I think I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
yeah.
they both have.
Oh, I don't recall the Greek one. I'll have to pay more attention. All right. Well, this whole section I put in Discord for anybody who wants to see it. And then I guess let me just put the link in there too if you want to read it not in Discord. Their mother stands among them, and then long O name. She is unlimited. She mixes with all of them. She is matter, and they are nourished by her. The 4 chief demons are E, associated with pleasure, Yoko, associated with desire, N, associated with distress, Blaomen, associated with fear. Their mother is that wildly long name that I put in Discord, the E name the ghost was asking about. Out from these 4 demons come passions. From distress arises envy, jealousy, grief, vexation, discord, cruelty, worry, and mourning. From pleasure comes much evil and unmerited pride, and so forth. From desire comes anger, fury, bitterness, outrage, dissatisfaction, and so forth. From fear emerges horror, flattery, suffering, and shame. Their thought and truth is Aneo, the ruler of the material soul. It belongs with the 7 senses and that wildly long E word. This is the total number of the demons, 365. They work together to complete, part by part, the psychical and the material body. There are even more of them in charge of other passions that I didn't tell you about. If you want to know about them, you will find the information in the Book of Zoroaster. Yoko is associated with terrible noises, Ghost said. Mikkel knows about this, apparently.
It was a joke. I was referencing Yoko Ono.
Yoko Ono? Okay. Got it. All of Yaldabaoth's servants and his demons worked to finish the psychic body. For a very long time, it lay inanimate. It did not move. He and Jim are at the movies. Yaldabaoth's mother wanted to take back the power she had turned over to the chief ruler. She earnestly asked the most merciful, the mother, father of everything, for help. Yaldabaoth deceived. By his sacred command, he sent down the 5 lights in the form of the principal advisors to Yaldabaoth. This led to the removal of Yaldabaoth's mother, divine power from him. They told Yaldabaoth, blow some of your spirit in the man's face. Then his body will rise up. Yaldabaoth blew some of his spirit into the man. The spirit was the divine power of his mother. He didn't understand what was happening, for he lived in ignorance. His mother's divine power left Yaldabaoth. It entered the psychic human body, modeled on the primordial image. The human body moved. It grew powerful. It shone. Yaldabaoth's demonic forces envied the man. Through their united efforts, he had come into being. They had given their power to him. His understanding was far greater than that of those who had created him, and greater than that of the chief ruler himself. When they realized that he shone with light and could think better than they could, and was naked of evil, they took him and cast him down into the lowest depths of the material world. The beginning of salvation. The blessed one. The mother, father, the good merciful one, looked compassionately upon the mother's power, relinquished by the chief ruler. Since Yaldabaoth's demons might again overpower the perceptible psychic body, he sent down from his good spirit a helper for Adam. Out of his great compassion, a light-filled epinoia emerged, and he called her Life, or Zoe. Patricia. Hey. She aids the entire creation, working with him, restoring him to the fullness. She taught Adam about the way his people had descended. She taught Adam about the way he could ascend, which is the way he had descended. The light-filled epinoia was hidden, there's no way I'm saying that right, was hidden in Adam, so that the rulers wouldn't know about her. For epinoia would repair the disaster their mother had caused. Adam was revealed because within him dwelt the shadow of light. His mental abilities were far greater than those of his creators. They had gazed upward and seen his exalted mental capability. The host of rulers and demons plotted together. They mixed fire and water and water. They mixed fire and earth and water together with 4 blazing winds. They melded them together in great turbulence. Adam was brought into the shadow of death. Oh, it's Old Coven. Yes, we do realize it. Yes, we sure do. Better late than never. Yeah, when we did this last week, we read through all of the introduction about the author, the everything that was inserted, why it was inserted. Yeah, and we're checking because it's color coded. So whenever those colors come, we check it to the key that the author provided. This wasn't William Smith though. I'm pretty sure that's wrong, but it was a later edition. Was it William Smith? No, this was Stephen Davies. So not quite, but it is a later version for sure. That much is true. Ah, that is the word that has popped up. Thank you for finding it. Adam was brought into the shadow of death. They intended to make him anew, this time from earth, water, fire, wind, which are matter, darkness, desire, the artificial spirit. This all became a tomb, a new kind of body. Those thieves bound the man in it, enchained him in forgetfulness, made him subject to dying. His was the first descent and the first separation. Yet the light-filled epinoia within him will elevate his thinking. Adam in Yaldabaoth's paradise. Yeah, we have time. The rulers took the man and put him into paradise. They told him to eat freely. Their food is bitter. Their beauty is corrupt. Their food is deceit. Their trees are ungodliness. Their fruit is poison. Their promise is death. They placed the tree of their life into the middle of paradise. I will teach you, plural, the secret of their life, the plan that they made together about an artificial spirit. Its root is bitter, its branches are dead, its shadow is hatred, its leaves are deception. The nectar of wickedness is in its blossoms, its fruit is death, its seed is desire, it flowers in the darkness. Those who eat from it are denizens of Hades. Darkness is their resting place. As for the tree called the knowledge of good and evil, it is the epinoia of the light. They commanded him not to eat from it, standing in front to conceal it, for fear that he might look upwards to the fullness and know the nakedness of his indecency. And then we have more blue text here. So things he believed were added later. However, I caused them to eat. I asked the Savior, Lord, isn't it the serpent that caused Adam to eat? He smiled and replied, the serpent caused them to eat in order to produce the wickedness of the desire to reproduce that would make Adam helpful to him. The chief ruler, Yaldabaoth, knew that because the light-filled epinoia within Adam made his mental abilities greater than his own. Adam had been disobedient. In order to receive the power that he had put into Adam, Yaldabaoth made Adam completely forget. We have more believed to be inserted text. I asked the Savior, what is it to be completely forgetful? He replied, it is not what Moses wrote in the first book. Quote, he caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep, unquote. Rather, Adam's perceptions were veiled, and he became unconscious. As he, Yaldabaoth, said through his prophet, I will make their minds dull so that they do not see or understand. The story is very similar to the Manzean Ginza. In what primary regard? Out of curiosity. But interesting note. Interesting note. Woman comes into being. The light-filled Epinoia hid deep within Adam. The chief ruler tried to remove her from his rib cage, but Epinoia cannot be captured. Although the darkness pursued her, it did not catch her. The chief ruler did remove a portion of his power from Adam to create a person with a woman's form, modeled on the light-filled Epinoia that had been manifested to him. He placed the power removed from the man into the woman. Blue text, so believed to be inserted later. It did not happen the way Moses said it did. He took a rib and made the woman. I can kind of see why he believes a lot of this stuff is inserted. Adam saw the woman standing next to him. The light-filled Epinoia immediately appeared to him. She raised up the veil that dulled his mind. He sobered up from the dark drunkenness, and he recognized his own counterpart. He said, This is bone from my bones, flesh from my flesh. Because of this, a man will leave his mother and father and be joined to a woman, and those two will become one flesh. For they will send his helper to him. Sophia, our sister, came down, descending innocently, so as to regain what she had lost. Therefore, she was called Life, the mother of the living, the one from the providence of the authority of heaven. By her assistance, people can achieve perfect knowledge. I appeared as an eagle, perched on the tree of knowledge, which is the Epinoia from the pure providence of light, in order to teach them and raise them up from sleep's depths. For the two of them were fallen and aware of their nakedness. Epinoia appeared as being full of light. She enlightened their minds. When Yaldabaoth discovered that they had moved away from him, he cursed his earth. He located the woman as she was preparing herself for her man. He gave the woman over so that the man might be her master, because he did not know the secret of the divine strategy. The man and woman were too terrified to renounce Yaldabaoth, who showed his ignorance to his angels, and he cast both of them out of paradise, dressing them in heavy darkness. The chief archon saw the young woman who was standing by Adam. He realized that the light-filled Epinoia of life was within her. Yaldabaoth became completely ignorant. When the providence of all saw what was going to happen, she sent assistants to remove divine life from Eve. Yaldabaoth R-worded Eve, and she bore two sons. Elohim was the name of the first. Yahweh was the name of the second. Elohim has a bear's face, Yahweh a cat's face. One is righteous, one is not. Yahweh is righteous, Elohim is not. Yahweh would command fire and wind, Elohim would command water and earth. Yaldabaoth deceptively named the two Cain and Abel. The plot just thickens. From then until now, intimate intercourse has persisted thanks to the chief ruler, who put desire for reproduction into the woman who accompanied Adam. The woman who accompanies Adam. Through intercourse, the ruler caused new human bodies to be produced, and he blew his artificial spirit into each one of them. Yaldabaoth installed the two with authority over natural elements, so they can rule over the tomb. And then we're going to cut right there, and next week we will pick up at the children of Seth populate the world, which is a great place to leave and come back, because I do have to go in just a minute. But real fast, the mortal body was created to entrap the soul, but the deception was reversed onto the tricksters. Yes, the Ginza. Yeah, it's an interesting point. It's a good point. It's a very good point. May we sit in the pew to hear this. You're in the pew, Coven. You're there. The pew is occupied by you, my friends. Plural. Could it be the jealous that a husband has for his bride? Like that you'd have for your spouse if you saw them with another. He is our head. We are the bride. In him alone we have all we need. I think that's kind of the I don't want to say obvious because it's not the word I'm looking for, but it's probably the most common interpretation of that. Meaning, I think it's fair interpretation. Like my opinion, I think it's fair interpretation. The author is off his rocker, in my opinion. It's just the blending, man. You see it. You gotta love it. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you why I said that. Because what did he say about Elohim? He said Elohim looks like a not a cat, but something.
Elohim was a bear and Yahweh was a cat.
Yeah, like there's just no coherence in that statement. With everything else we know about the ancient world and the Bible, etc., like why would he say bear and cat? It doesn't add up.
No, not in any way, but it makes sense within this text because there's a theme of that. But if you take that out, and if you've never read any of this stuff or anything else outside of the Bible, like, no, it makes no sense whatsoever. But in the context of this text alone, it makes sense. Like, if you had no other information, it wouldn't surprise me. You just wouldn't know what it means.
Well, what is a bear and what is a cat? Like, why is it a bear and why is it a cat? Their face. Because animals have attributes and characteristics and they do things. So is he saying that Elohim shares characteristics with bears?
No, but I don't think that's what he was saying earlier when he was comparing the demons to animals either. But maybe I need to think about it more.
It's just like, otherwise, why would they be? Because, like, the jackal head of Anubis.
Yeah, you don't even. I was gonna say is with the bear. It's like you don't even see bears in mythology south of Germany much. I mean, if there is, they're very rare. I mean, I think there was a story where Lilith's kids were bears or something, but I mean, yeah, you don't see it's like, where'd they get that from? You know, you don't hear much about just kitty cats and bears. So
I think it's just obvious there was an outside influence that prompted the author to use the animals at all to like represent, because we don't see a lot of that at all in the canon. Like, that isn't a common theme.
Lion and dragon you can see, but I mean, cat and bear, I don't know.
No, and then you had the earlier list of close to a dozen comparisons to animals. It's just out of character for like what we're used to, but it's not necessary. From what I understand in my experience, it's not super out of character for like the time. It's just out of character for the sect that we come from, most of us. Soph in the chat said bear equals strength, cat equals psychic sensitivity. Which I guess is interesting. I don't know what exactly to make of that, but when you boil it all down though, like, of everything that was just said about Yahweh and Elohim, coming from the background that most of us come from, the bear and the cat are like the least of my concerns. Much of the rest that was spoken is interesting and odd, and at odds or is at least new information when compared to like the canon and even some other earlier texts.
I've heard some of that rather what would you call it, scandalous type of thing. I've heard some of that before, so I was ready for it. But yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's in a lot of the, I guess not a lot, but it's in some of the Gnostic stuff. But for people who've never read anything outside of the canon, it's shocking. It's appalling and offensive. But it's not uncommon.
People have written books on it. I've seen books on it. So.
Oh, for sure. For sure. There's a lot of, there's a decent bit of information about how Yahweh was, I guess Yahweh wouldn't be the proper title for it. The Christian God is just absolute evil, and they break things down in similar fashion. There's a lot of literature out there. Go said Elohim doesn't necessarily look like anything. They're informational, useless without souls or hosts. David said bear more powerful than cat. Soph said, lion equals justice, eagle equals foresight. I've never been a fan of all the animal representations, man. I got to be honest, but I'm sure that's mostly just me. Go said, but what is the origin of those associations? Oh, he's asking about the yeah. See, that's why I don't like that, because also if you take the animal association from different cultures, oftentimes mean different things. So do they actually mean anything? I'm a firm believer in no. It's just stuff we make up because it's cool and sounds good and becomes a cultural thing.
Could it be a reference? Could it be a reference to something going on in the sky? Because I know there's like a Ursa Major or something in the constellations, which is bear.
That's way above my head. I don't know, but that's an interesting thought. I have no clue. I have no clue. If anybody else has an opinion, chime in, but that's way out of my pay range here. That's something I wouldn't have even thought about, though. That's interesting to me. The animal associations are usually not, but that would be something interesting to look at. You like animal associations? I know. You wouldn't like what we're talking about right now, though, trust me. Serpent equals desire. Every metaphor needs logical coherence, otherwise it's silly. Amen. Edge witch? Oh, deleted. I'm the only mod here, so... Oh, what happened? Sorry for being somewhat incoherent, and your alludes to us. Bro, no, this chat is not moderated, my friend. I think we've had to kick somebody out like once, maybe. Maybe we tolerate a lot of crap. It's very rare crap happens, but every once in a while, random people come in and cause problems. And even then, like, maybe we've removed one person, and I don't believe we delete anything ever. And I would see it, and I don't see it, but you're just gonna have to take my word for it. So if you're having issues, then it's on your end. We love you, friend. We're glad you're here. I agree with that. They bring a certain appeal to the chat. I agree with that. All right, any burning desires, last minute things? I gotta sleep. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Tomorrow we have Book of Job. Monday, Ghost is gonna present some stuff, and I'm just gonna probably ask questions the whole time. I'm wildly excited for that because it's really interesting content. So if you're at all available Monday for that, I would highly recommend coming. We're 7 p.m. Central Time on Monday.
I need lots of questions, preferably from as many of you guys as possible. So if you can show up, that would be great.
Yeah, he's gonna provoke and like throw things out, and then my hope is that we can just like tear into it because it's super interesting stuff. But if at all possible, definitely come 7 Central on Monday. Very, very thought-provoking things. Where's Agent Hog? His beckons for hitting the like button are far better and cuter than mine. That's true, but you did a good job. Yeah, do YouTube stuff, y'all. If you're here, do the YouTube stuff. Help us out. David's been in and out. He's probably dealing with like, you know, hogs and whatnot. You know, that kind of is his life, or cows at his kitchen window. I don't know. But whatever it is, he has a good life. All right. Hog already squealed. Oh, David did. Yeah. Here. Wait, before you leave, please subscribe and like. It really helps us. Thank you. David, you're the man. Cat, don't ever disrespect David like that ever again. All right. I love you guys. Everybody have a good night.